everybody, Average Vintage Collector here with another video. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different, a little bit influenced by another channel. Mike over at Baseball Collector recently did a video, and he did a video about the top 10 cards that he wanted to get in his lifetime. And these were like realistic goals to add these cards to his collection. I thought it was a really neat idea, so I figured I'd go ahead and look. And I got to tell you, honestly, I've been going on 4 years collecting in vintage, and to see the evolution of my collecting habits and my wishes was actually really even surprising to me. So coming into this, mostly I was a golden age, golden era kind of guy, focused on a little bit of the 50s, a lot of the 60s. And the only really pre-war I got into was the Diamond Stars set. I was trying to put together that Hall of Fame run. So that still is those things I still all like to collect. But what I've decided to do is make it kind of like a concerted effort to branch out into like pre-war dead ball era. And I'm excited to do that. And I do not have much of that stuff. I don't have any of the dead ball stuff, dead ball era stuff. So this is kind of all new for me. So I was really pleasantly surprised to see where my collecting habits might take me, and surprised myself with this list. For those of you that don't know, I do not spend a whole lot of money on cards. I don't spend it in one spot, or I do kind of spend it in one spot. I make probably more than a $50 purchase, maybe just a few times a year. Strongsville is kind of the time that I go and kind of just go bonkers and spend the majority of my yearly budget and pick up a bunch of things. So throughout the year, I don't really add too much. So these cards that are on this list are going to be cards that are long-term goals. So without talking any more about it, I'll get started on my list. So coming in at number 10, sticking to Golden Age, is going to be the 1955 Topps Sandy Koufax rookie. I'd really like to add this to my collection. I'm a big Sandy Koufax fan. I'm actually a big fan of the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 50s. I really like most of the players that on those teams. I love Jackie. I love Duke Snyder, Pee Wee Reese. I mean, you just name it. There's just not a bad player to name. And Koufax just being the dominant pitcher that he was, and it's a really nice card, and I'd really like to add that. So that's sitting at number 10. Number 9. So number 9 is going to be the 1934 Gaudi Hank Greenberg. That card, Hank Greenberg is an excellent story. He's a guy that I just love his story, and the fact that he, is one of those military guys that I really highly respect. And not only was he drafted originally into the service when they changed the draft policy, the age requirement, he was actually discharged and he went back to play some ball. And shortly thereafter, Pearl Harbor was bombed, and he willingly came back into the service right in his prime and gave up a lot of years, but then still on the stat sheet put up numbers that were just unreal. Came really close to breaking Babe Ruth's single season home run record one season, but big Hank Greenberg fan. So this is definitely adding that rookie card. I love that like greenish color background. The pose is somewhat a little bit similar to his Diamond Stars one, but again, just adding that card, I just think it would be a great addition to my collection. Moving forward, next one is going to be, now this is where we start to get a little different. It kind of goes different than how I've collected. So I've tried to identify some players in that dead ball era to collect, and I don't really know too much about the players. I'm learning every day, watching videos, watching your guys' videos out there, and learning a bit more every day. And one of those guys, again, I stuck with kind of the Dodgers, was looking at Zach Wheat. Zach Wheat being really a five-tool player, really small guy, like real short in stature, but could really do it all. I really started looking at his cards, and the cards are just incredible. So the one that I'm focusing on is going to be the T206 Zach Wheat. I love like the sunrise background. Now, as far as the back goes, I'd love to have one of the rare ones, like a polar bear or something along those lines, but I'm okay getting anything, really. Anything that fits my budget at the time, and that, appeals to me for eye appeal. So my version of eye appeal. So Zach Wheat, the T206. Next one. So this one has been on my list for a long time, and honestly, it used to be the number one card, the number one want on my list was the 1949, I guess we're calling it Leaf, Ted Williams. I absolutely love this card. Now it has dropped a little bit down the line, but it's still a card that I want in my collection at some point. I love the red, and for like that kind of like non-photograph type of image, the detail is amazing in that picture. The font, everything about that card, I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'd really like to add that Ted Williams. Next up is going to be the 1933 Gaudi Mo Berg. Again, falls in line with my military love, the guys that served in the military. Now, he technically wasn't a military guy. If you know anything about Mo Berg, he was a spy. I would recommend reading The Catcher That Was a Spy. It's a very good book. And he was a very odd individual. He loved the game of baseball, but he didn't necessarily like playing baseball. He loved the freedom that it gave him to do other things. But just a very crazy story. And his stats don't jump out. He was never that type of guy. His defense was fantastic. But again, he hung in on a lot of teams because of his personality, some of his relationships with his managers, and some of his relationships with his pitchers. There were certain pitchers that just wanted Mo to catch. But that image of that, again, that green background, him squatting with the catcher's mitt, it's a great card. I would really love to add that. All right, the next one. The next one, honestly, it is not a card, but I'm going to add it anyway because it is kind of a card. So in 1935, the Detroit Tigers won the World Series. I will shout out real quick, Eric, the Detroit collector, helped me with this. I knew I saw this on his channel, but I wanted to reach out and make sure I had it right. So in 1935, they won the World Series. The Detroit Free Press, which is still a newspaper, a current newspaper in Detroit, put out a series of in-color pictures of some of the players on the team, and you could collect these. And they're not out there. They're very rare, but they are gorgeous. And the one that I would like to get is going to be the 1935 Detroit Free Press. I believe it's an M120 or M121. I could be wrong. Of Hank Greenberg. It's a beautiful image. You can see it right here, right now. It is fantastic. So I'm going to link, Eric's channel in this and maybe even the video to watch that because it's an amazing episode. There's really some really cool stuff in there. So that is the next one. Next on my list, again, going into that dead ball era, we're going to go with T206 and we're going to go with Nap Lajoie. Nap Lajoie in the throwing variation. I really like it. I love the image of him. Color, image, everything appeals to me. Another guy that was just kind of a superstar, could do it all. What can I say? If I want a representation of some people from that era, I think that Zach Wheat, Nap Lajoie, those types of guys, that's the representation that I'm kind of looking for. So really looking forward to adding that one. Again, next is going to be, now this one has, again, always been one of my top two cards. I'd say it's shifted to number 3 at this point in time, but it's still hanging out at the top, and that is the 49 Leaf Joe DiMaggio. Again, the history between having that added with that 49 Leaf Ted Williams, I think that they're beautiful bookend cards, and the history between them and their two teams in that time period, I believe it's just phenomenal. It's a playing days Joe DiMaggio, which I would love to have, and again, the image I just really love, and I love the green on this one. Again, green seems to be coming up. I think that's the third time I mentioned it with a card, so maybe that's part of what draws me to it. But I think having both of those cards would be phenomenal to have in my collection. I would really enjoy having both of those. All right, so now we get into the last two. The last two, these are definitely the two I think that would be, if there were two out there that would almost be impossible for me to get, and I'll never say impossible, but very difficult for me to add, it would be these last two. I would have to be in a different place than I am right now in order to add these two cards. So I'll never say never, but I would love to add these next two. So I don't really think there's too much separation between the two. It's pretty much like a two-way tie for first. So these are not in any particular order. The first one is going to kind of stay in line with my original collecting habits of collecting, 50s and 60s. one of the first cards I ever bought was a 1952 Bowman Phil Rizzuto. And at the time, that was early on when I was started collecting vintage, I had kind of made, said that I was going to maybe collect all the Hall of Famers in the 1952 Bowman set. I really enjoy that set. I really like it a lot. I'm not probably going to do that run of players anymore, but I do love this set, and I love the cards from that set. So, with that being said, 1952 Bowman, Mickey Mantle. That's a reach for me. That is not a cheap card. It's, to get one that you really like to look at, and that has everything that you want in it. Everything that you want, every little thing that you want, that comes with a price, right? Kind of price goes up and up and up. So, the 1952 Bowman Mickey Mantle, definitely there, and that kind of goes with my old school, or my older original way of collecting when I first entered vintage. So now, surprisingly, the other card that's at the top of the list is just the opposite. It's going to be the new road that I'm going down for my collecting, with trying to add some of these pre-war guys. And that card is going to be the 1915 Cracker Jack Tris Speaker. Again, I tried to identify some players in that era, and identifying three big names: Zach Wheat, Tris Speaker, Nap Lajoie. I think that is, what better three can you have? And I'm sure there are, that's just my opinion, and I'm still just learning, like I said. But, Tris Speaker, 792 doubles, still holds the record for that. I don't even know if anyone's even close to breaking that. But the image on the Cracker Jack, first off, the Cracker Jack cards are just so cool. And they are pretty popular right now, which means that prices have really dramatically increased, and we've been hearing that a lot all over the place. But again, if this is going to be, I believe it is realistic to put this on my list. I think at some point maybe I would be able to get this, or the Mantle, or something. That's the reason I made this list. I don't necessarily think they're out of reach. I just think that they're going to take a long time to actually get the chance to do that. So that is my list of 10, which is very, very, very different than when I first started 4 years ago. There was a lot of cards in there from the 60s, maybe even a couple from the 70s when I first started. But I think I'm kind of finding my own, and I'm always going down into rabbit holes. But I feel pretty good about going down this road and being able to balance pre-war, golden era, even though the majority of this list is pre-war. I'm not going to change too much in my everyday collecting habits, but these 10 cards will definitely be something to target. Now, I know a few of these are not, crazy money, but still, when you only spend about, 50 to $100 a couple times a year on cards, except for the, one big event, which would be Strongsville, it's not easy to do. So I could see myself maybe 3, 4 cards at Strongsville next year off this list, and that would be amazing. So anyway, it's gone on a bit too long. Mike, thank you for the idea. This was really fun. Really surprised myself too. And again, check out Eric's channel over at the Detroit Collector. So that's my top 10. Thanks everybody for watching. Catch you later.